Hit it. Let's go. Let's go. Hello, friends.
Are we started?
Yeah, it's done. We're in.
Finally.
Welcome back to another episode of
Yeah, I've been waiting for this.
The Mindful CEO. We're going to talk about mindfulness today because that matters in a day and age of current events.
Current events.
If you can't be
Current
mindful right
events.
now, you're gonna get, you know,
Fucking waylaid. All right, so
yeah,
this
waylaid.
waylaid.
Haymaker, a haymaker.
Oh,
You're gonna get haymakered.
you will be waylaid by a haymaker.
There, yes, there it is. That's right.
That's how that goes.
Yeah.
Yeah, waylaid as fuck. I got waylaid. So I noticed. So I was doing my meditation. I was doing my practice, and I
Hmm.
went back to doing. I started doing meta again. I had stopped. I my practice for a while, for probably 8 months, 9 months, has been um basically 15 minutes of breath, 15 minutes
Yeah.
of body scan, and 15
Mm,
minutes of
mm.
meta.
Yeah, yeah.
And just sitting for 45 minutes. And then at some point I started going, well, what happened to gratitude meditation? Where that so I started playing with it. No rules, no way to do it wrong. Let's just go. And all that's good. And I started doing meta again. And in a moment, it occurred to me um, how really fucked up I've been over Jeffrey Epstein, the files, the world that reveals.
Hmm.
Um, and part of what pushed me over the edge into despair, resignation and despair, I
Hmm.
guess,
Yeah, yeah.
was the whole hockey team phenomenon,
Mm.
of just the sheer depth and pervasiveness and sort of what occurs like constitutive elements of misogyny baked into
Mm.
what it means to be a human in this culture right now.
Mm.
It's
Mm.
so deeply ingrained. The misogyny is so. I mean, the Epstein files, for one thing, it's beyond misogyny. I mean, it's. Ooh, excuse me. Um,
Yeah.
it's beyond misogyny. I mean, to think there's no, I can't imagine a world, a reality, a timeline
Mm. Mm.
in which every intelligence organization in the world didn't know that they were raping
Mm.
and killing children.
Mm. Mm.
I mean, there's 3 million fucking files on too many important people. You know,
Yeah.
Forget about this administration and please, and this particular FBI.
Right.
I mean, it's been decades of
Decades. Yeah.
Justice Department after Justice Department ignoring this, and it can't just be the U.S. Justice Department. I mean, there's no way in which we human beings haven't been okay with
Mm.
rich and powerful people raping and killing children.
Right.
That's what's happened. That's the reality we live in.
Mm.
That's occurs to me like a fact. Like I don't know how to read that information and come to some other conclusion other than
Mm.
at the very least this country, forget about the assertion that every intelligence agency, even if that's not the case, but you know, this is not a I mean, it's a Trump administration problem given the number of people in the Trump administration named in the files.
Yeah.
It's a Trump administration problem. But where was Merrick Garland? Where were the attorneys general prior that this was no,
Yeah.
this is, it's acceptable for the rich and wealthy to rape children. That's what's happening.
Yeah.
That's what's been revealed. It's been happening
Right.
for a long
Right.
time. that occurs to me as distinctly apolitical conversation.
Right.
It's,
Yeah.
but and we have not come to terms with that as a country or as a humanity.
Yeah. That's
Some,
hard to come to terms with.
yeah, there's some, you know, some, what do you call that? When you say some, oh God, virtue signaling. There's some virtue signaling going on. Prince Andrew was arrested. Good. But it's all virtue signaling. It's
Mm.
does not strike me like we're going to dismantle the infrastructure that
Right.
allowed
Right.
this
Right.
to happen. Like the Panama Papers, nothing happened there. Like the person that reported it was killed, and then everyone goes ahead and moves on. But the rich and powerful are going to keep doing rich and powerful things. Um,
Right. Right.
and so in the midst of dealing with that, then this whole thing comes along with the women's hockey team being definitively more effective, the women's Olympics, women Olympians,
Right.
statistically wildly more effective than the men Olympians, and the women's hockey team producing the same result, but getting, you know, publicly dissed and laughed at,
Mm.
and then no real meaningful accountability for that. It's just got me, it just had me fucked up. It just had me fucked up.
Yeah.
And I noticed it during my meta meditation how, one of the things that regularly practicing meta gave me that I lost when I think now I'm sorting this out for myself. That's where I've been. So now I've been trying to sort this out for myself. Like, all right, well, what is there to do about this? You know?
Right.
And
Mm.
one of the things I noticed about my meta meditation is it leaves me responsible for life in a way that I'm simply not without it. It seems to me one of the maybe even the ultimate form of responsibility, like um, the other side of the stick from being at the effect.
Yeah. Explain being at the effect. What does that
Being at
mean?
the effect is you go outside, it's raining, you get wet. You're at the effect of the weather.
Right.
You know,
Got
you're just at the
it.
effect of the weather. It's or you could also look at it like it's raining. I wanted to go to the beach. Now I'm upset. Also, at the effect of the weather. It's another way to look at that.
Yeah.
Something happens, and then the result of it happening produces a result over here,
Yeah.
and it looks like they're linked. It looks like they're
Yeah.
causally linked,
Mm.
right?
Hmm.
Whereas
Of
if
course,
I
it's raining. Of course, I got wet because it's raining. Like, how
exactly
else would that have gone? That couldn't have gone another way. It's raining, so I got wet.
right,
That's what you're saying.
yes. Versus someone who looks at that from the lens of responsibility, the gift it is to be causing the matter, like the opportunity it is, not the truth, but like the opportunity it is to look at it from causing the matter. I get to look at it like, oh, okay, well, I'll get a fucking rain jacket.
Right. Right.
I'll get a rain jacket, or you know what, we're not going to go to the beach, we're going to go to the movies, whatever. I'm just not going to be at the I'm not going to have my experience of life be given to me by my circumstances.
Right.
I get to choose. And you know what? And it's funny because I wrote about it in the book. The thing that Meta gave me, which I forgot about, but was that opportunity to be in the presence of loving human beings, even at Costco. And
Mm.
my assertion was given my history and my relationship to disliking groups of people. Um,
Right.
if I could be in the presence of loving people, even at Costco on a Saturday, I could be responsible for being nothing. There's no outside thing that's going to give me my attitude. There's no outside circumstance that's going to dictate how I am. If I can be loving and kind in the presence of, this person with their cart and in front of me at Costco, which is,
Yeah.
okay, maybe, first world problem, but
Yeah. Yeah.
still drives me crazy.
Yeah.
Um, if that doesn't drive me crazy, then I could be responsible for being anyone.
Right.
And then the universe was like, yeah, well, let's see how you do with this.
Mm. Mm-hmm.
Here's a bunch of children raping oligarchs and
Mm,
you know, public you know, a public dismissal
mm,
of women's accomplishments
mm,
and a you know pedestal putting of the men's accomplishment. I mean, it was sort of a perfect
mm,
storm. It wasn't merely, you know, um, pretending. It wasn't merely putting women's accomplishments down. It was putting them down while raising a man's accomplishment right above it for no fucking
mm,
reason.
mm, mhm,
There was nothing better about the men's gold medal than there was about the women's, other than the fact that the men do it so less frequently. Um, anyway, I haven't really connected meta with responsibility before. And I thought that's an interesting thing to look at. That
Yeah, and just real quick, refresh people listening what meta is, because we're not talking about
meta is
Facebook.
loving kindness. It's a loving kindness meditation where
Yeah,
wish, you wish yourself well,
yeah,
you wish strangers well, you wish people you love well, you wish people you have a disagreement with well, and you wish all living beings well. Like
mm,
there's
yeah, and that's
in some order.
METTA, right? METTA, meta.
METTA, right,
Yeah,
right, not
yeah,
not Facebook.
yeah. Right, right, right.
Meta is the Pali word for loving kindness.
Yeah,
And it brings up the in a non in a not a particularly not a context of responsibility, although really it's the interconnectedness of beings. Thich Nhat Hanh
right, right, right.
conversation
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
takes, I think, a level of responsibility because it doesn't occur that we're interconnected. It occurs like certainly easy enough to make a them over there,
Right,
make a them over there that's doing something to me. That
right.
seems like the most natural thing in the world to do. It does not seem natural to create the them over there as me.
Right.
I occur like distinct from them. But when I
Those
listen,
people.
yeah, any people, yeah, those people,
Uh-huh.
certainly easy to dis disidentify, to
Sure.
not identify as a child rapist. Fairly
Yeah, that's
easy,
pretty easy to.
pretty simple to locate myself as in the camp of not raping children.
Right.
Um, but when I listen to or I read "Call Me by My True Names," the Thich Nhat Hanh poem,
Right,
that
right,
really is the source of if I'm going to live free and in the presence of what I'm committed to, love, kindness, joy, expression, if I'm going to live in the presence of that, independent of my circumstances, outside of getting circumstances that call for those, which it's easy to be a possibility when you're getting off your plane at your honeymoon, right? But
right,
who are you going to be when the
right,
shit hits the fan, right? That's agency, is being able to declare who you are under any circumstance.
right.
If I'm going to be that way, then I'm going to need to see myself both as the child who was raped and the pirate who raped her.
That's the Thich Nhat Hanh
That's the Thich Nhat
reference.
Hanh assertion, the
Yep.
interconnectedness of being, that if I were raised, in a sea village in Thailand under the conditions those pirates were raised, I very much there's a there's a chance I wind up that way.
Right. And
And
that would be normal. That would be, it's like I hear that
yes,
sort of overlaid with the misogyny comment, like you're born into a culture that has deeply ingrained misogyny. And of course, men's things get elevated above women's things. And of course there's objectifying and all the stuff that happens around because there's an ingrained culture. I mean, that's what I'm hearing
yeah,
I'm taking the pirate thing from, way back when to like, okay, well, that here we are in a world where
completely. Yeah.
this is the fishbowl. This is the water we swim in.
And that's right. And so there's just a lack of responsibility in first of all, there's a lack of awareness. So then we get back to awareness, allowance, acceptance,
Uh,
appreciation, the
right.
pathway to gratitude. That if you're not aware, and for
Right.
whatever degree you want to forgive the men for laughing at the moment, you're high on testosterone and adrenaline, and you don't, who the fuck knows, but the days after, when you could have said something
Hmm.
and you could have corrected that to not, you're just giving up any sense of responsibility for who you are, what you do, what you have. Are you living true? Are you
Yeah.
living true to who you say you are? Is it an expression of your commitment, or is it just a reaction to the circumstances? Are you going to live a reactive life? And I don't know, there's a connection there for me regarding that question and the
Yeah.
the demand of meta. I don't know, the opportunity of meta, because you know it's not an observational meditation, not like breath awareness, which is purely observational,
Uh-huh.
or body scan, which is purely observational. Meta asks something of the practitioner. Meta asks that
It's generative. It's not
it's
observational. It's
generative. It's
generative. Yeah.
inclining your mind in a particular direction.
Right.
Um,
That you're generating loving kindness for somebody you have a disagreement with, for
yeah,
all living beings. You're generating a loving kindness. You're finding in yourself the place where that lives,
yes,
even when circumstances are exponentially uh, not aligned for that. That, I have all the reasons in the world to be appalled and pissed and sad and at the effect of circumstance. And in meta, you're saying you're finding that place in you that can find loving kindness for
yeah,
those you have disagreements with in all living beings. So what's
exactly.
the responsibility piece? Like so when you say
Well,
like being responsible for,
it's interesting because like I found that I discovered that for myself. Like I experienced that for myself in Costco, when I was practicing meta with the
yeah,
people who were in front of me,
right,
and I got started to get connected to the human being as a human being.
right,
Now, that's a
right.
very, very low bar,
Yeah,
right, for me to have to get over my own personal distaste for, other people, and why is your cart in front of this, right? Like, it's not like I'm witnessing someone raping a child.
right.
Very
Yeah,
small bite, taking it. It's a
yeah,
very baby step. But nonetheless, it's a baby step in something that was very real for me, because I often leave Costco or crowded situations, you know, uh, upset, annoyed, irritated. I'm that way going
mm,
into the situation,
mm-hmm,
regardless
mm,
of the justification or the size of the hill that is. For me, it was a
yeah,
hill,
yeah,
and for me to come out of that and be in the presence of how much I love people, like experientially loving people,
yeah.
it showed up for me like, oh, that's I if I can be in the presence of loving people, despite my 63 years of practice in being annoyed by them in that circumstance,
Right.
then where do I get off having the circumstances give me my relationship to life anywhere?
Mm, mm,
There's a sense
yeah.
of responsibility, like, oh, like I would put on a rain jacket. Oh, I would practice meta here.
This sounds like putting your oxygen mask on first. It sounds like you're being responsible for your experience of the world, of the occurring world, that how you interpret the world, how you interact with the world.
Yeah,
You're being responsible for how you are showing up in the world. It's not
right.
like you're being responsible for the FBI
No, so
and
responsibility. Okay, good. So responsibility in the standard usage of responsibility, I'm using it in a different way.
uh,
Responsibility in the standard usage means blame.
you're responsible for this. You
Exactly.
did this.
You did this.
Yeah.
Who did it? And that's the standard usage of responsibility. And I don't use it that way. This is my landmark training coming in because
Yeah.
I think there's just a more empowering way to use it. And it's important, I think, for people to remember that all words are made up.
Right. Right.
That's not a real word. Okay,
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
fine. All words are made up. There are no real words. There are none, no real words, none. They don't exist. There's nothing real about words.
That's right.
If I were speaking Swahili, you and I was making sense to Chris, you wouldn't understand any of it. They would all sound like made up words. So
Right. And if we go back far enough on the timeline, there was no language. It was grunts and,
exactly.
yeah.
So language is made up.
Yeah.
So you can use the word responsibility any way you fucking want. Okay. And one of the ways that in my ontological leadership training, we use responsibility is to distinguish an opportunity to no longer be at the effect of things. And it's an opportunity. You can choose to be cause in the matter. You can choose to be responsible for your own experience. That in that world where you've chosen to be responsible, you've made the declaration to be responsible, that you are no longer at the effect of what's happening
Yeah.
anywhere. Why? Because you have said you can be
Yeah.
responsible for your experience of life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I can be responsible for the actions of others and how those actions of others, I can declare myself responsible for the misogyny that exists in our society. I'm responsible for that. I've declared myself responsible for that. That's part of why this hits so hard. And it's part of why we do this podcast. And it's part of why I wrote my book. And it's why I teach mindfulness. And it's why I continue
Yeah.
to teach ontological leadership, because it's all a pathway to having people open up to a world in which misogyny is inappropriate. And
Yeah.
that's one of the missions I have about it, because I looked and see at this condition of the world, what can I do about that? Oh, I can do this.
Right.
Now, is that the right thing to do? I don't know. Is it the most effective? I don't know. Is it the most efficient? I don't know.
Right.
But,
Right.
you know, it's working for me for now.
So,
And
so,
yeah,
so two parts, two layers here. One for me, a first layer feels like just getting to the presence of loving kindness. That meta puts you not in a reactive, angry state, but in a okay. There's compassion here. There is loving kindness here, and from that place, I can take I can be responsible for how I want to be the change I want to see in the world about misogyny, for example.
yeah, I think it's got to go the other way. I don't think I could
Hmm.
get there without being, I mean, declaring myself responsible, I practice meta.
Hmm.
Because I'm causing the matter of my experience, I will practice inclining my mind towards compassion, finding that place. Because I practice meta with a lot of, I mean, I teach meta, and very often it comes up. Two things reliably come up. One is people can't or find it difficult, challenging to express loving kindness towards themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
They're from a history, a background where they've been hard on themselves and others have been hard on them, and it just sounds too weird for them to be loving and kind to themselves.
Hmm. Hmm.
It's not an issue that I particularly have, but certainly comes up often enough when I teach meta that
Hmm.
they they can't start with themselves, which is fine. And it's not a problem. Start where you start, but so that's one. And the other one that comes up continually is, um, people they have disagreements with. Like I am not my biggest hurdle generally is Stephen Miller. right? That's like the
Mm,
steepest
mm.
gradient, way more than Donald Trump. Um,
Interesting.
but whoever it is for you, right?
Yeah,
Whoever it
yeah, yeah.
is, to create loving kindness towards
Mm,
them, to find the common humanity, to find
mm.
where that human being is. Thich Nhat Hanh suggests,
Yeah,
you think about them as a child and
yeah.
what must have happened to them as a child that has them this way,
Mm, mm,
and as an
mm.
access to compassion. Um,
Yeah, yeah.
so I, without my being cause of the matter of, so part of it is just my unwilling. I just have a fundamental unwillingness to be a victim. I've developed over time, like any place where I notice that I'm at the effect
Hmm.
of my thoughts, my feelings, of other people, of some circumstance, because it's almost all second arrow stuff. I mean, almost everything I'm upset about is what I've decided about it.
Mm,
Um,
mm.
I just refuse to be the victim of that. It's, and I'm clear it's uncommon. Most people are perfectly
Yeah,
fine to be a victim of things. Um, and that's just a choice that I have made, is like, I'm just not going to be upset at someone else's actions if I can sort myself out about it. And I make it my business to sort myself out about it. And one of the things that shows up for me about that is, when the Buddha said resentment, or in our case, Chris, the word that we love is contempt,
hmm.
um, is like drinking poison. Me having contempt for Stephen Miller, me having contempt for the Epstein class of human being that has rah-rahed around raping children, or the class of human beings that found it really funny to, you know, make fun of the women's team, or any of that, any of the class, any of the groups of people there. Um, oh, I was going somewhere with this and I've forgotten. Now I'm just too. Oh,
I was,
resentment, contempt,
yeah, yeah. Content.
resentment,
There you go.
contempt. How easy it is to slip into that bath of resentment or slip in that bath of contempt.
Mm,
Um,
mm,
the Buddha was
mm,
pointing out that doing that is like drinking poison and waiting for the other person to die. That
mm,
my
mm,
contempt for the
mm.
Epstein class leaves me living a
Yeah.
life of contempt, with the
Interesting.
experience of being contemptuous, making, and it makes no difference to them.
Right.
Nothing, they are not doing anything other than enjoying themselves raping children. I'm the one with contempt. I'm the one stuck living a
Yeah.
contemptuous life, or resentment, or whatever it is for you. And
Mm,
that's just insanity to
yeah.
me, that I would ruin my life because I can't control my brain, my mind. I don't have any say about what I think about or how I think about things. I'm not going to do that. That's why I practice,
Yeah.
because I'm not going to live a life where I don't have any say about how I see things. Are you fucking crazy?
Yeah.
Why would you just be stuck with the interpretation you had? If the interpretation you have leaves you with contempt,
Well, yeah. Yeah. I mean, removed from the contempt, then and you can breathe a little bit, then yeah. But like I think I mentioned a month or two ago to you about the Count of Monte Cristo at the end when he's like, "Don't rob me of my hate; it's all I
yeah,
have." Like there was a very visceral, primal energy to hate,
yes,
and it is invigorating. It is righteous. It
totally.
is all kinds of big, fat, juicy payoffs for being right about something that but I can see how that leads to war, like literal war or internal war. Like I can see that my hate would uh have me plot all the things to be justified in what my hate is pointed towards. Like
Yes, totally.
so
Totally.
in
It
the
gives you
moment it's
great.
like I am just see
Oh, it's
red.
juicy as fuck. Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
completely juicy as fuck. And it's what, and it, look, I mean, on some level, probably save the species at some point, our ability to fight as a reactive, whatever.
Sure. Yeah.
Right. But
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's juicy, but it
Yeah.
doesn't mean it's useful. And it doesn't
Yeah.
mean I'd want to live there. And once the adrenaline dies down, what am I going to do about it?
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
meta is
Right.
one of those things that I can do about it. I can
Yeah.
practice orienting myself in a
Yeah.
loving, kind manner toward all living beings, which sounds really nice until you get that includes children rapists
Hmm.
and the people that apologize for them,
Right.
right? The people that make sure that they can continue to do it. And,
Yeah.
but without that, what's the alternative? Which doesn't mean then you get into the difference between accepting something and having it be acceptable, right?
Yeah.
This doesn't mean you continue to let it happen. It just means you stop it from happening and you don't
Right.
lose who you are in the process.
Well, and there's a third layer here. So, if it starts with the thing I'm triggered by, followed by meta that gets me to a place of loving kindness about it, I think a third layer that opens up here is agency. Like what? So now that you're not at the effect of it and you're being responsible for it, you get to say, are you going to wear a rain jacket? Are you going to get an umbrella? Are you
Right.
going to not go to the beach and go to the movie theater? Like it puts you in a position to take action that feels congruent and aligned for you. And
Yes.
it's action that's not from contempt. It's action from loving kindness because you got to the place of loving kindness through meta. This is mindful CEO stuff because now you're going, what am I going to do about it? How am I going to
Right.
CEO myself about the world or whatever the circumstances I want to make a change in? And you're designing, building, constructing containers and actions from a place of loving kindness, not a place of hate, which is all I have. Because when you take action from hate is all I have, don't rob me of my hate. The action I take looks like bombs. It looks like all kinds of nefarious things. Whereas loving kindness, but I love your example of this, by the way. When you go to if you go to a protest and you have your chair, your meditation chair, to me that feels like a very agency oriented, uh, being responsible for you're participating, but you're doing it from a different center, a different place. I don't know.
Right.
For those that
No,
haven't
it's
heard
right.
that,
It's right. That's right. The meditation stations, which I'm sorry, I'm missing the next No Kings March. I'm going to be at a retreat. I'm not sorry about being at the retreat.
right?
Um, but yeah, there's this space of where your actions come from determine its effectiveness.
Mm,
That's not some new thought. That's not like,
right.
oh, radical here.
Ooh,
Ooh, call
oh,
Simon
mic
Sinek.
drop.
Right. Um, but where you're coming from matters.
Yeah.
Where it just does. It matters in the experience you have, and it matters in the outcomes you
Mm,
produce.
mm,
It
mm-hmm. Yeah.
matters. And that's the whole background of don't just do something, sit there.
Right.
Aligned,
Right.
we're
Right.
back to aligned action now.
Yeah.
you know what's the aligned action I can take in this
Right.
circumstance to
Right.
impact this situation? What's the
Right.
action that's available to me that would be aligned with who I say I am,
Right.
what I'm committed to in the world? So that's, and I don't think you can get there without that kind of responsibility that says, doesn't matter what happens, I'm responsible. I get to say the quality of my life, and nothing's
Yeah.
too big for me.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I'm
Yeah.
not the effect of anything, which is, I got a lot more practice in that, really, honestly, than I do in meta. Um, but it also gives me a little bit of hope around meta because I am thoroughly practiced in
Yeah.
responsibility. I don't question which is why it showed up for me so distinctly when I went back to meta. I was like, whoa, I have given up responsibility here. I have been
Mm, mm,
really upset about this
yeah.
and doing nothing about it.
Right.
Just allowed myself to wallow in the upset. But not even like allowed myself to wallow in it because I think there's some value in that
Sure.
if you're consciously allowing it. But I wasn't even aware of it. It was just below, it's the kind of resignation and sadness that occurs right below the surface. It just
Yeah.
starts to color everything, seeps in, colors everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, and that's, I mean, there's a, if you wanted to just take this out of the context, please God, take it out of the context of raping children and put it into something, more manageable, then, you could just look at the way you run your business,
Sure.
what are you avoiding? Where are you resigned? Where are you not, again, where's your heart not open to what's happening? Do you have employees that your heart's not open for? Do you have, you know, clients where your heart's not open? Are there places where
Yeah.
you have made a them over
Mm.
there
Or
and
us,
they or
or an
an
us.
us, right?
Yeah.
I mean, what comes with them is always an us. You can't have a
Yeah.
them without an us or a me.
Yep.
And if there's an us and a them,
Right.
you've lost already. I mean, okay, is that true? Because all right, let's look. Because I can't get away from sports metaphors. And in sports, you need a them. But sports is different in that context. I don't think the metaphor tracks because, in a sports metaphor, there's a delineated game and
Yeah.
a start
Right.
and a stop and a
Yeah.
score, which
Yeah.
there's not in life.
No. I
There's
mean, you're
not in
talking about infinite
relationships.
games versus finite games. I mean, an
Yeah,
infinite
there's just
game
not in
is
relate with Kale.
life is not a
There's
finite
not.
game. Yeah.
No one's keeping score there,
Right.
right? And if they are, it's a problem,
Right. 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 Right.
right? It becomes an issue. Um, but yeah, so that's what I've been grappling with. I don't know so the relationship to responsibility is sort of a new
Yeah.
valuable thing, and responsibility isn't something we've talked about really very much on the show.
Well, and it's something that's deeply embedded in the work that matters to me. I think it's embedded in the stuff you've mentioned when it relates to people having agency, because agency is about choice. What are you going to choose?
Yeah.
What are you going to do? And I think one of the metaphors that's coming up for me in the conversation is the whole like upstream versus downstream, the thing where bodies are floating down the river and somebody's like, oh my God, look at all these bodies. Like, let's help me pull these out of the river. And there's so much downstream shit and chaos and circumstance. And it's very, and it feels urgent. It feels like an emergency. Like, dude, we got to get these bodies out of the river. Well, of course, yes, of course. But what can happen, I think, for people is we all get wrapped up in urgent, reactive measures, and we don't go upstream to try to find where are these bodies coming from, what's causing these bodies to flow down the river. And part of, I think, some of my work in designing containers and ecosystems that create change is about you'd have to get to a place of loving kindness, or at least a place that isn't reaction and contempt
Hmm.
worthy, to be like, okay, what do I want to do about this? And not from a today this one action, but if I was really going to be responsible for it, not just responsible today for this one thing, but like I really actually wanted to make an impact here, I would go upstream and start to try to figure out what are some of the causes, not all the causes, because you can't do all the things. You can't create all the containers that create change, but you could find
Mm.
somewhere in you that is deeply congruent and aligned for you to be like, I have skills here, I have perspective here, and in this particular case, I want to make a difference. And so you could spend your life then being responsible for being the change you want to see in the world as it relates to that. You could be the manufacturer of rain jackets, or you know what I mean? Like, you decide how you want to be responsible for it, but don't sit there and throw stones as if you have no say. Don't just be like, oh my God, I
Right.
can't do anything about it. That's not true. So anyway,
That's a great metaphor, Chris. I love it. I, that's really good. I think we could even end on that because it's, the opportunity that we all have to take a walk upstream and see what we can take, where we can keep a body from falling into the river. Um,
Right. So just to anchor that into the example we use, if misogyny was a thing that really upset you and you got to a place where, I'm not saying you, Aaron, I'm saying as an example, and you thought that really does matter because I can see the ripple effects of misogyny. I can see how that affects my daughter. I can see how that affects the business environment. I can whatever. And I think so. To me, upstream, what are the conditions that I think contribute to misogyny, and what containers could I build and put in place that would put uh, that would change the circumstance, the
right.
conversation, the environment, and I will do my best to grow that one container or that one thing upstream so that at least as people interact with that container, misogyny is not a part of the conversation. We're programming something different and new, not
Yep.
reliving something old. So just to ground that in the example, but yeah, we can end there and just
No, I think it's brilliant, Chris. I think it's a brilliant way to, it keeps it from being an abstraction to, okay, on the court in life, what can you actually do about this situation? What actions are you going to take? Or are you going to sit there and, you know, whine about it?
yeah,
Right. And,
right,
the thing about I was just thinking about, talking about the bodies in the stream. I was thinking about, well, it made a difference for that starfish, the, the guy's
right.
going for a walk. You don't have to, you're not going to fix everything.
No, no, right.
But if you made a difference, like I raised two good kids, there you go. That's not
Yeah,
nothing, you know,
yeah, yeah,
and I'm teaching mindfulness and ontological leadership to,
right.
release to
Yeah.
continue that conversation.
I always tend to say things like you know this, but the prompt I give people when considering their life's work is when blank happens, the world will change. And life has taught you something about what would change the world if the world had more of it. So if it was loving kindness, oh, that when people sit in and express loving kindness, the world will change. That's
Hmm.
100% that's true. And if that was what life taught you and you felt really compelled to that, then you could start to go, you could start to think, well, in what ways do I want to build something around loving kindness that the world
Right.
has more of it? And now you're putting yourself in a position to, you can't do all the things, like you said, but you can do some of the things.
You can
And
do some. You can do one of the things and then look at the next one.
yeah, and you can
Um,
make a difference too. So what I realized, this is what I want to say about that, sorry, was I'm so used to saying when blank happens, the world will change. And I just tend to think globally and big picture, but that's hard for some people to think because then they think all the things. But so if you said when blank happens, the world of blank will change. When blank happens, the world of hockey will change. When blank happens, the world of education will change. When blank happens, the world of parenting will change. When
Even when
blank
blank
happens, the
happens,
world
my
of
world
fashion.
or my world will.
Sure. Yeah, great. When blank happens, my world will change. Vashon will change. I don't care what the scope of impact is you want to make, but don't be a victim of overwhelm. Don't be like,
Right.
it's too big. I can't
Well,
make a
that's where
difference because it's just
meditation
too
helps.
big.
Let's just go back to meditation. Oh my God,
Yeah.
this great Sharon Salzberg meme. Sharon Salzberg is one of the godmothers of modern, meditation in the West. One of the people that brought insight over with Jack Cornfield, and
Mm,
uh,
mm.
I don't know, just a big player. She does these great memes, and one of them was me at a party, and then it's don't say it, 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 don't say it. Meditation will really change your life. I really feel like that. It's like it is how I feel all the time. Don't say it.
That's
Have you
it.
tried meditating?
Oh my
Um,
God.
all right, let's end there.
All right, man. Thanks everybody for
All right,
listening.
man. Peace.
Peace out.